They weren't merely bandmates, they were brothers in leather and boots, two hungry Jersey kids chasing the same impossible dream. Together, they climbed from smoky club stages and dimly lit rehearsal rooms to international fame. But somewhere along the way, between the platinum plaques, the screaming arenas, and the whirlwind of global success, something inside their partnership cracked. And after years of silence, Richie Sambora has begun to speak openly, revealing the cracks that were hidden behind bright smiles, dazzling guitar solos, and the illusion of unshakable unity. What didn't the world see? What went unsaid when Richie walked away? And why has one of rock's greatest partnerships transformed into a distant memory rather than a comeback story? This isn't a tale of petty jealousy or inflamed egos. It's far more intimate. And once you hear what Richie has shared, your experience of Bon Jovi's biggest hits may never feel the same. Long before fame claimed them, Richie Sambora and Jon Bon Jovi were just two ambitious musicians grinding through the tough New Jersey rock scene. Richie came from Woodbridge, Jon from Sayreville, two working-class towns built on grit, hustle, and the idea that nothing came unless you bled for it. They played in every place that would let them plug in: narrow bar corners, VFW halls, basements, school gyms, backyard parties, anywhere there was a crowd, or even the hope of one. What ultimately pulled them together wasn't just determination, it was a shared devotion to storytelling through music. Both worshipped artists like Bruce Springsteen, Led Zeppelin, and the blues legends whose raw expression shaped their musical instincts. When Sambora officially joined Bon Jovi in 1983, the effect was immediate and transformative. His presence didn't simply complete the lineup, it elevated it. His bluesy, expressive guitar tone, intuitive harmonies, and natural chemistry with Jon became the bedrock of the band's signature sound. In those early club performances, places like the Fast Lane in Asbury Park, their synergy felt almost telepathic. Richie could instinctively sense where Jon was headed musically, shaping arrangements and harmonies with perfect timing. Together, they created a sound that felt massive despite modest stages, intimate even when blasting through big speakers. And as they built hit after hit, their creative partnership became the engine driving Bon Jovi into rock history. Richie's talkbox magic on "Livin' on a Prayer," the haunting riffs of "Wanted Dead or Alive," the aching purity of "I'll Be There for You," these weren't mere contributions. They were pillars of the band's identity. Offstage, the camaraderie seemed just as strong. Photos revealed them laughing backstage, unwinding on tour buses, and leaning on each other through the chaos of global fame. Richie was often described as the grounding force, the emotional counterweight to Jon's relentless ambition. But woven beneath the brotherhood was a quiet imbalance. As the band's popularity exploded, Jon became the definitive face of the brand, sometimes by design, sometimes by circumstance. Richie's influence remained enormous, but he found himself slightly outside the spotlight, even when his fingerprints were all over the music. Still, the early years were fueled by a unity that felt unstoppable. Two Jersey kids who stumbled on a once-in-a-lifetime chemistry, riding it all the way from garage dreams to roaring stadiums. Yet even as they soared, something deeper and more fragile was taking shape beneath the surface. As the band's sound matured through the mid-80s, Richie Sambora became more than a guitarist, he became the band's emotional compass. He gave Bon Jovi something rare in an era of big hair and bigger egos: soul. While other rock acts chased speed and showiness, Richie leaned into character, tone, storytelling. His guitar wasn't merely an instrument, it was a voice. And one that often expressed what the lyrics didn't say outright. Albums like Slippery When Wet and New Jersey turned into stadium rock masterpieces not just because of Jon's charisma but because of the warmth, edge, and emotional depth Richie infused into every track. Songs like Never Say Goodbye and I'll Be There for You showcased his instinct for creating not just musical hooks, but emotional anchors. His harmony strengthened every chorus, and his solos shaped every climax. Richie's brilliance wasn't about flash, it was about restraint. He understood the exact moment to explode with a solo, when to hang back, when to soften, and when to strike with force. He helped craft the emotional architecture of Bon Jovi's sound in ways fans felt even if they didn't consciously recognize it. But while musicians and critics acknowledged Richie's essential role, public recognition often leaned toward John. He was the face, the voice, the poster image. Richie, despite co-writing the band's biggest hits, remained just outside the center, present, essential, but not fully seen. And as the spotlight narrowed on John, the first cracks of imbalance silently began to form. The global success of Bon Jovi brought fame, fortune, and influence, but also immense pressure. The more the band became an international machine, the more its internal structure shifted. John increasingly stepped into the role of CEO, leader, decision-maker, public representative, while Richie felt his creative voice gradually muted. What had once been a collaborative unit started to feel more like a hierarchy. The endless touring cycles, tight album deadlines, and non-stop demands of superstardom slowly burned away at Richie's emotional reserves. He found himself attending rehearsals and recording sessions but feeling less heard, less involved, and less valued in the creative decisions that shaped the band's direction. From the outside, a Sambora Bon Jovi reunion feels like destiny. A triumphant return. A bow tied neatly on a legendary story. But the reality is far more complicated. Musically, they've evolved into different artists. Richie's solo work has become blues-heavy, introspective, shaped by life and healing. John's music has shifted toward reflective, adult contemporary tones. Their creative visions are no longer parallel. Health is another barrier. John's vocal strength has changed dramatically, while Richie carefully guards his own well-being, avoiding tours that could strain him. And emotionally, the weight of the past cannot simply be shrugged off. Time builds distance, and distance reshapes chemistry. Forcing a reunion could risk fracturing the legacy fans hold so dearly. Sometimes the myth of what could be is more powerful than the reality of what would be. In the years since stepping away, Richie Sambora has rebuilt himself with intention and honesty. He's been open about therapy, reflection, and the long journey of untangling who he was as a person from who he was as a rock star. He spends much of his time surrounded by family, especially his daughter Ava, whose achievements he celebrates with visible pride. Creative freedom remains part of his life. He releases music when he feels inspired, performs when it brings joy, and avoids the pressures that once consumed him. He recognizes the mistakes he made but also the healing that stepping away allowed. Despite the way things ended, Richie looks back on his time in Bon Jovi with appreciation. He speaks lovingly of the songs they created, the history they built, and the millions of people their music touched. He knows the impact he made, and so do the fans. Today, his legacy lives not only in the iconic riffs and harmonies that shaped a generation but in the quiet strength of reinvention. He stepped away not to escape the past, but to reclaim his future.